Hello, hello. Welcome to Fireside Chat with Kimberly. Thank you so much for being here tonight. As always, I'm so happy to spend a little bit of time with you on a Monday. What a way to kick off the week. And I mentioned this last week, so this was kind of fun. If you're joining, if you're able to watch, if you're only able to watch on a replay, let me know. Put that in the comments that you're watching via replay, and share your questions, your comments, and one of us monitoring whichever page you're commenting on will will respond. Thank you to Rebel Cheese, the sponsor for this week's talks. Prize packs have been graciously donated, as always, by Hodo Foods, Follow Your Heart, Cinnaholic, Revolution Gelato, Terraseed, and Fabulous. And I invite my viewers to enter the monthly contest at virtualvegfest.com and click on the contest tab for details. Entering is super easy, so just by liking and or subscribing to our social media and Virtual Veg Fest YouTube channel, you're entered to win one of those amazing prize packs. All right, hello, hello, welcome. So tonight I'm talking about goats. Hey, Diane, thanks for being here. Glad to see you. Um, so what do I mean I'm talking about goats? Well, I was just kind of, I don't know, I was just sitting around thinking about the world and how, so often we talk so much about the standard in the US anyway, the animals used most for food, the big three, I guess, right? uh Chickens, cows, and pigs. But, goats, if you visit, any farm sanctuary, there will be goats there because goats are also heavily farmed. And I know that hello, blind guy, his wife, and their life. Welcome. Happy Monday. Yes, kids are cool. The goat kids are cool. Thanks for being here. But I think that so often people aren't thinking about the goats. I think that when you hear the word dairy, it brings up an image of cows and excuse me, and people and the dairy industry is horrific. There is no doubt about that. And but so often I think we're forgetting about goats. Goats are not typically, as far as I know, are not typically found in these large scale factory farms. But you know what? They still get trucked to the same slaughterhouses because, they go wherever is cheapest for the farmer. And even farmers who feel like they care about their animals, they are a smaller operation and they feel like, but we care about these animals before, through their lives, we take care of them and make sure that they're, safe or whatever. Maybe they're doing a better job that way um, than large scale animal farming. But at the same time, we have to remember that these operations, small as they may be, are still exploiting the animals. So no matter what, they're still being used for, to satisfy a palate or sorry, I don't know. I've got like some allergy thing going on. But but the goats, these farmers, and the example that as I was kind of googling trying to come up with, what am I really going to talk about with this, I came across a story on Farm Sanctuary website about their goat Shirley. So Shirley, just to give you a quick timeline, she got to Farm Sanctuary in New York State in August of 2020. She was kept in quarantine, as they do whenever a new animal comes into any sanctuary. They have to quarantine them so there's no risk of getting the current residents sick. And then she was able to meet her new herd only a couple of weeks after that. Sadly, though, Shirley passed away in October of 2020. So she was only in at the farm sanctuary for 2 months. So what happened to Shirley? Shirley was on a small goat dairy farm. Well, unfortunately, Shirley contracted it's a men I'm not even gonna try to say it. It's essentially a worm infestation that is pretty common in goats and can be pretty easily treated. They're able to recover from it if they are treated timely and completely. It can make their back legs lame. They lose most use of their hind quarters, and that's what was happening to Shirley. So even though she was on a small scale farm, she was still suffering. Well, why weren't they treating her? Well, maybe they didn't catch the infestation in time, and then you hit a point where it's too late to treat that, but also she was still able to get pregnant. So it didn't matter that she was struggling to walk. The cost of the medication and the treatment to get Shirley back fully up on her 4 legs was not justified from the business standpoint because Shirley could still get pregnant. She was still able to provide value to that farm. And it does say in her story that the farmers, when they realized that she was spent and could no longer earn them any money, they didn't want to send her to slaughter. They thought she should have an opportunity, like she'd earned it or something, like she doesn't already have an inherent value and an inherent right to life. She they decided that she should be, she should find a home at a sanctuary. So they did that, and they brought, she wound up at Farm Sanctuary in Watkins Glen, New York, for 2 months. While she was there, though, she connected with other goats. Goats, just like cows, just like chickens, just like pigs, they form relationships. They have communication with each other. She found a best friend. And when she passed away, her new best friend, Sadie, was devastated, was grieving her loss. It doesn't matter that Shirley couldn't say from the start, I'm in pain. I think I'm sick. I need some help. It doesn't matter that Shirley couldn't communicate that she wanted to keep her baby because she was connected to her baby in a way that humans would understand from a language perspective. But these animals, we can see the relationships they create. We can see how a mother goat is able to connect with her baby and how she cares for them from the moment they are born. And you know what? Probably just like happens in humans, maybe sometimes there are, goats or cows or pigs that maybe being a mom wasn't really their life's purpose and they're not like super crazy about it. Maybe maybe that's what happens here and there, but for the most part, what we can see when you see videos of these animals that are being raised for food, that they have an ability to connect with one another, and they also have an ability to connect with humans in the story, and you can read it right on the Farm Sanctuary website. Shirley was very distrustful of humans at first, but then she started to come around, and as I mentioned, she was only at Farm Sanctuary for 2 months. It didn't take that long because she was surrounded by people that truly not just cared about her well-being, respected her as an individual, and understood that she, by existing, gave her the right to exist without needing to be useful to anyone. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that the story helps bring some perspective. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I missed this comment before. Right, that's what I'm saying, like, I think so many people aren't thinking about goats. I mean, goat cheese, I think, is really popular in, certain areas and in certain cuisines and stuff, um, but certainly not as you don't find it in every grocery store the way you find, dairy from cows, for sure, or cheese from cows. But it's there, and in addition to being used, for food, for 'cause there's also, people eat goat meat as well, so there's that whole side of, the goat industry, I guess, if you will. Um, but Shirley's story I wanted to share, and she was a dairy goat. Um, but I thought that it would be a nice story for us to really talk about and make that connection, right? Um, Goats are exploited in another way too, and it comes from how playful they are, and it is how when they're in an environment, uh, where I guess they feel safe enough, they like to engage with humans. When you visit a farm sanctuary, and that's really where I'm going at the end of this talk, is like, now that it's starting, things are continuing to open up more and more, and a lot of farm sanctuaries will be starting their tours soon to go through, the spring and summer, sometimes into early fall, depending on where in the country you are. I'm going to encourage everyone to visit one so they can meet animals that had been being raised for food, or were part of the food industry, and get to see how they live and really interact with them. But goats are exploited in another way too, and that is through this new fad called goat yoga, which is awful if you ask me. It's just the sole purpose. There's no you don't need to have goats around in order to effectively do yoga, right? I mean, I'm a regular, uh, yogi, if you will, and, I do it alone in a room on a mat. I don't need goats around to make it more enjoyable. So they'll bring out baby goats, and by the way, so they have to be babies, so what happens once they're too heavy, once they're too old, once they're too, um, forceful, to keep bringing them to the yoga classes. But yeah, these classes are, a yoga class outside, maybe even on a farm where there are goats, or there are companies that bring goats to your yoga class, and people do yoga while goats climb all over them. Because if you have ever seen goats, in an environment where there's stuff to play on, they are playing on it. They are climbing, they are jumping off things, and they are just having a grand old time. So if you are in downward dog and a goat decides that you look like a really fun platform from which to jump, that's exactly what's going to happen. And and so sure, like, maybe that's fun for some people, but it's so exploitative. There's nothing about There's just a different way we need to start looking at things. The way that we need to start looking at animals as a whole is that they are not here for us. And that's it. To justify any reason to exploit them, I just don't think there is a justification for it. And even something as fun as goat yoga is still not okay, because what the message it sends is that we can use animals however we see fit, and that they don't have value in and of themselves. And it's simply not true. So I would encourage that if a yoga studio near you or a farm near you is is holding goat yoga classes, please learn about goats. Do just some, even just some quick research. Understand and be able to talk about their personalities, and understand and be able to talk about, why we don't need to use animals for entertainment, and go to these yoga studios or these farms and just let them know how you feel about it. It is really eye-opening when you sit back and you look at the way animals are used in our lives every single day without thought. It's like there's not even a consideration. There are some people, they go and they participate in a goat yoga class, and all they see is how much fun that was for them. And there is no thought any further than that. And there's no consideration of what does it mean for those goats. Like I said before, what does it mean when they're too big to be involved in the goat yoga class? Are they already on a farm where this is how they make the babies that are currently without value from a business perspective valuable to them, until, they're, maybe if they're, girls, they're old enough to start having babies of their own to produce milk of their own. I don't know. But it is when Hi Patricia. Thank you so much for joining. I'm glad you made it. Yeah, we do. We've just got to make that connection, and we have to see and look, when you realize how often animals are exploited and used and abused for humans without thought, it is shocking, and it can feel very overwhelming. And sometimes it can make you want to shut down, but I beg you not to. And I want to remind you that you can't change everything, not overnight. That you can in the world, you can change whatever you want in your life as quickly as you want to. But, we're not going to make everyone see it this way right away. Hey Rick, thanks for being here. But what we can do is maybe we can find that one thing. Maybe you happen to have a friend who works at the yoga studio that does has the goat yoga classes. Maybe that's your first step. Maybe there's some other way where when you sit back and you notice and you are surprised of how animals are being exploited. Maybe maybe that's the first step you take. But it's a lot. And it's just, we don't live in a vegan world. So again, you can please don't expect that it'll change overnight. And even the first time you approach that person at the yoga studio or at the farm, bringing the goats to the yoga studio, maybe they won't hear you. But the goats, the animals, like they need us. And so even when it's scary, even when it's hard, it's still really important. And we should do whatever we can. We all come from different backgrounds, different places, completely different lives. We have access to different things. So just consider what you can do and don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Because if we're all making steps and we're all reaching out and we're all trying to change one thing, we will get there. I am so hopeful of that and sure of that if we do it together, you know? Hmm, that's my thought on goats. Just a quick little 20-minute chat. Here I will share for those of you who um, joined late. I started the show talking about Shirley, who was a goat who was at Farm Sanctuary in Watkins Glen, New York, in 2020, and it's her story of being a dairy goat and coming to sanctuary for the last few months of her life. So check out that story. It is heartbreaking and it is beautiful, as they all are. But my other real like push for this episode is that, especially here in the US, it's starting to get warmer across the country. Spring was yesterday, and the start of spring was yesterday. It's still spring today, by the way. um, so a lot of the farm sanctuaries are starting to open up for tours, in the next month or so, and then likely through early fall. If you have a farm animal sanctuary near you, please check it out. There's something, of course, so powerful. Storytelling is the most powerful way to connect, to engage. And when you can learn the story of these animals that were once part of the, animal agriculture industry, and now they get to live lives supported in being who they are. And then you get to see them interacting with other animals that are just like them, and it's just so beautiful. So you if you have the opportunity to meet some some of the animals, some depending on the way the sanctuary is set up, sometimes you'll even get to join some of the animals, give them some pets if they want to engage with you. You'll get to hear their stories, and it's just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful way of seeing the animal agriculture industry from a different perspective. We don't always have to look at the horrific side of it. We don't always have to see the animals in pain, being hurt, being abused. We can see them on the ones who are lucky enough to get out of that. And we can understand where they've been and make that connection with where they are now, and know that we have the power and ability to keep changing, to work on the system and make the changes we need, and plant those seeds to the people around us and to the people we engage with on a regular basis, get them to see a different way of living. Oh, Patricia, I love it. I love that you get to go and hang out with some rescued goats. I might be a little bit jealous. And yeah, if you have a sanctuary nearby, many of them are looking for volunteers. You just let them know what you're capable of doing and your availability. And if they need volunteers, that meet, if they have those spaces and you fill that need, that is a beautiful way. And I thought I my husband and I volunteered at a farm sanctuary right before, it must have been 2019. Um, and we were there all day. We were assigned to clear out, funny enough, the hay and all the little goat houses, and then replace it with new hay. And then we at towards the end of the day, we helped out in the pig pens and changing out their water. And they hang around, and the goats and the pigs, the animals, they get, when they're in sanctuary and they know they're safe. Many of them, despite the trauma at the hands of humans, are still so able to engage with you in a loving, beautiful way. And man, if that doesn't fill your heart with so much love, I don't know what would. So, with that, please look up local sanctuaries, farm sanctuaries near you. And if you aren't sure if one of them is legit, um, reach out to me and I'll help you figure it out. And we'll see. And then if you have one and you want to volunteer at, please do. And you know what? If you do that, tag me or in a comment or something and let me know that you've been able to get out there and volunteer, or if you visit a farm sanctuary because of this talk, tag me and let me know. I'd love to see who you meet while you're there. As always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me on this Monday evening. I will see you on Wednesday, hopefully, for the stew. I will be there. I mean, hopefully, you will be there too. And then, of course, back here next Monday for another fireside chat. Have an amazing week. Check out those farm sanctuaries, read Shirley's story, share with your friends. Thank you. Bye.